Okay, we're good.
Okay. All right. Good evening. Welcome, welcome, welcome to Empowerment Moment with yours truly, Dr. G. Um, happy Thanksgiving, everyone. So if you're here in the United States, you know Thanksgiving was this past week, yesterday actually. So today's Friday, and that's why we're doing it on a Friday evening. In place of that, so Thanksgiving is an opportunity to really give thanks to God for really having life and having breath and this program is just really intended to really for me to just put some men on hot seat. This is tonight. That's going to be part of that. Um, I am incredibly blessed that I get to call on my husband who was here last month. So we started a conversation and it was really, really, really good. So I got some people that just like, wow, this is so awesome. We should do part two. So I think I'll see how long this will take. And so we're excited. So the topic of the conversation is really, I didn't see this coming. A father's call to special needs parenting. I mean, to be honest with you, we all are individuals on special needs anyway, because we all have needs that are special, quote unquote. But more importantly, for those of us who are on this journey where it requires us to have extra grace, it requires us to have extra resources, there is a need to really understand the walk in a way that makes people appreciate how hard it might be. And so my goal started 17 years ago. So as an organization, we exist to support families facing autism and other intellectual disabilities throughout their lifespan. And when we started, one of the things that caught my attention was a number of fathers or male figures that were absent in the lives of individuals when they needed the most. So that's one of the taglines: restoring hope, restoring families. That's really our mission, and part of it is having conversations around does it take to really, really, really raise someone who needs extra support. And they may need extra support initially, but maybe at sometimes as time goes, they might not need the support any longer. But regardless, there is a need to be very intentional. So I had my husband Robert on a hot seat last month. I'm going to add him as a pin on here. And I had him on a hot seat last month. And he really, really, in some ways, surprised me too. I got some key takeaways from him from the conversation. He was able to share how the vulnerability really was very transparent. I was like, whoa, very transparent about his moments of joys and challenges, and inspired all of us. I mean, there are comments that were made that people are like, wow, that's a huge takeaway. So we took some pointer from that. So tonight I asked him that he's going to share a little bit with us. But before he starts to share, I reached out to one of I call it. I have a lot of favorite people. So if you there's some people that I can call last minute and they show up. And he's one of them. Like by the time I can send him a text and say, "Hey, Shala Abitogan is who is a guest tonight. Love his family. It's been such a blessing to my goal." And I said to him, "I love what you're doing, and I think it would be a great conversation, a great add to this conversation tonight." So we're having this conversation that it is not an accident that all of us are on this journey. God created them, every one of us, especially, to be wonderfully made. But there are things that happen along the journey that we did not expect it, and He's going to be able to share some part of that. So I have some pointer questions that I have for him, and as well as Robert to kind of comment on. The point here is that I hope that by the end of this conversation tonight, people will walk away feeling like I learned something. I'm inspired by what we're sharing. I'm challenged by it. And that's really the key piece on that. So before I bring Shala on, I just want to give Robert an opportunity to, hey, intro and just a key one or two comments before we get into the question, and then we'll bring you back at the end or even intersecting the conversation along the journey. So, yes.
So thank you, Robert Kumaplay, Dr. G's husband. And that's how most people know her a lot in the community. So, it's easier for me to just identify that way. But she's been hosting this program for a long time. And sometimes I will be listening in, and she's interviewed the daughters, which are the sisters to my lovely beloved son Nicholas. I must say that these conversations are not easy conversations, but I think the last time I had it, I kind of exited the conversation and the podcast with a lot of load lifted off my chest because those were things that I wanted to share. I wanted to express and never really got a platform. So it was very therapeutic for me. And so I'm happy to hear that others found value in it. Like I said before, Nicholas is my only son, and I had visions and dreams of him and I playing soccer, going to watch soccer games with me. That didn't happen, but we found other ways to connect. So I'll leave it at that and say I really appreciate you all joining this call. I hope that whatever we share would inspire you to get on the journey. It's not actually as bad as I thought it was going to be. So thank you all for joining.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So I have his last name, so I don't know why he's saying he's Dr. G's husband. Like, seriously? I had to give up my last name for how long now? So yeah, I am the wife of the one and only Robert Kwesi Kumafle. So I'm putting it out there right there. That thank you for sharing that. Um, so I want to just invite you in, Shala, and thank you, Nodedi, for joining. Thank you, Adaranke, for being here. There are folks that are in the Zoom room, but for those who are also watching us online, if you have comments, please drop it into the chat, and we'll moderate that for you. So, Shala, thank you so much for being here tonight. I want you to
Thanks for having me.
introduce yourself, and then we'll punt it off some few question and answer, and I have you kind of dial in and share something. So, just tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. My name is Shola Abitogun. As you know, I'm the daddy's husband. So I, I think I should phrase it the way Minister Robert phrased it, right? So for the most part, I'm in the background as well. I think anyway. Um, so I mean, what introduction do you want me to say?
Well, I think tell us a little bit about. I mean, you're parent to two amazing people, right?
Correct.
Mateus,
Correct.
yeah.
Yeah. So I'm married to my beautiful wife. We're gonna be 10 years next
Wow.
year. Time flies. We have two beautiful children, Matthias and Emiola. And um, you know, obviously I'm on this call, so we have been on the journey as well. And it's been interesting, right? Like I said, nobody signed up for this,
Mm.
right? It's one of those things you just gotta take it one day at a time. Um, so I mean, it's been interesting, as your question is coming, I will have more to say, and also what I do for a living, I work in the pharmaceutical industry. I actually work for Novo Nordisk, right? So I'm a QA manager where I work. My wife also works. She works for a pharmaceutical, so she manages clinical trials. So we are both in the same space. Uh, on the flip side, we also have an ABA agency, right? So we have a so right now we're an agency, but down the line it's going to become clinic. Hopefully, we have multiple ABA clinic, right? So that journey in itself has been very interesting as well. So in a way, being in this space also birthed something else that we hope to bless a lot of family with, right? So my wife also, because we passed through interesting journey with the school system, right? Dr. G is very aware of everything. She was very shout out to Dr. G, man. So we need to have a Dr. G special day, right? So Dr. G was very instrumental in helping us navigating through that very, very tough time, right? So now my wife is the expert of dealing with the school system, right? So we are at a point now where she's actually passionate about helping
Mm.
parents
Mm.
who will deal with that. I'm not even sure if it's an option, right? they will deal with it. So we are open to, well, we don't know how that will look like, right? I have a theory how it should look like, but she does what she wants to do. Like Minister Robert knows, we don't control nothing. We just stay on the sideline, right? So, so hopefully we get to put something together where she helps a lot of parents who are dealing with this situation. So, yeah, so there's a lot going on.
Yeah, no, thank you for highlighting that. I mean, you got to a crux of something that I was going to ask you, but tell us a little bit about that journey, right? So you're saying you've been married almost 10 years.
Yeah,
You never even envisioned yourself would be owning an ABA company. You just talked about that just now.
yeah.
Tell us how you got to the first news of, okay, you need to provide extra support for your loved one. Tell us a little bit about that moment, and how did you process that emotionally to get to this place that you're in right now?
Yes. So with my nature, I'm generally a pragmatic person, right? So I just look at things for what it is, right? I try not to live in a la la land in a way. So as our boy was growing up, my wife as well, we started noticing some things, right? Like, okay, he's not speaking when he's supposed to speak. He was speaking, he was trying to speak, he was singing songs, just things were not aligning up like they should align up, right? So we did we did speech therapy, right? So when they were doing assessment of the speech therapy, there's a lot of things that he should be doing already that he was not doing. So right away, I was kind of knowing that something is happening, right? Sorry, my kids are all around the area, so be
No
here with us,
worries.
right? So we kind of know that something was happening that that should not be happening, so to say. So eventually, we did OT as well, right? So right away we sensed something might be happening, right? So, but then we didn't want to, like, you don't know what you don't know, right? And something you don't want to find out, right? So we tried not to get diagnosis, right? But then the speech therapy, I think she told us that our son, our son might need ABA therapy, right? But then to get ABA therapy, you need diagnosis, right? So that essentially is kind of what pushed us to go get that diagnosis. But I kind of prepared my mind for it, right? So when we got there and they were telling us, it's not something you want to hear, obviously, right? It was kind of a little bit heartbreaking, but in that moment, I just kind of switched to worrying about my wife, so to say,
Mm,
right?
mm,
Because you can see in her face that everything just changed, right? That she was like very down. She didn't want to hear it. So I switched to just trying to say the right thing. Don't worry about myself, right? So
mm,
I switched to trying to say the right thing at that moment, which obviously did not work, right? But maybe that's a coping mechanism for me as well. But it wasn't something I wanted to hear, obviously, even though I've been kind of preparing my mind that
mm,
this might be what's going on, and now, the funny thing is, even some of the questions the neurologist was asking us, oh, does he do this, do this, does he do this? He wasn't doing those things,
mm,
right? But they still gave him that diagnosis. And I'm
mm,
telling you, almost as soon as we got out of that office, he started doing some of those things. I'm like, this
mm,
is the weirdest thing ever, right? So it's like, okay, um, I can't think of it, but maybe flapping of hand or something,
mhm,
right? So it was, but over time, right, just some things started to happen as it's growing. He started picking up all these behaviors here and there. But to answer your question directly, it wasn't something I wanted to hear, even though I was kind of in my mind. It was heartbreaking, but and over time, I still struggle with some of those feelings as well, but I think I've learned to kind of manage it. Can you hear me properly? It says my internet is
Yes, I
unstable.
can hear you. Yeah, can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, so over time, it's something I've learned to manage, right?
Mm,
But I can't tell you that those feelings have gone 100%. Then I will be lying to you.
mm. When was one and I guess you kind of spoke to it a little bit. When was the
Yeah.
moment that stood out to you that made you realize that life as you know it is going to be a little different um, from what you anticipated? And how did you manage to get to a place where you guys are? I mean, I hear how Matthias is doing, and I'm like really amazed by the progress he's made. How did you know that it was going to be different, and what did you do to try to get him on track, so to speak?
Um, so I don't know particularly that moment,
Mm,
right? But like I said earlier, at the beginning stage when it was so sorry, let me press reverse. So Matthias' birth was actually very interesting, So when we were on the day of his delivery, right? My wife was in the hospital and the doctor came in and the doctor said this boy is very stressed,
mm,
right? You know how they have the map thing. The doctor said Matthias was very stressed, right? So now, the doctor was not scheduled to take that delivery,
mm,
but it was my wife's OB/GYN, and he said, I'm not leaving this place until I take this baby out,
mm.
right? So they did like emergency C-section, so to say, and they found cord
Wow.
wrap around his neck,
Wow.
right? So, in a way, the boy has been like dealing with a lot of stuff
Mm,
for a long time. So, but then, I'm a believer. I believe in God. I believe in Jesus. So around Matthias' birth, there was a lot of prophecies,
mm,
right? Like I think you gave some, Pastor Yohan, they gave some. Well, she's not a pastor, Sister Lola Dixon. I don't know if you remember her.
mhm,
Uh,
mhm,
she came to the room like just a lot of like just multiple prophecies. I'm like, okay, I guess, I guess
mm, mm,
this is gonna be interesting.
mm,
It's not like just
mm,
a routine birth,
mm,
so to say, So in a way, so my sense kind of like, okay, this is gonna be interesting, right? So just from that to him working, then just a whole lot of different little things, right? Then when we get the diagnosis, at that time, I kind of know like, okay, um, this is gonna be different, right?
mm,
But then
mm,
over time, there's just different things that are happening that when I sense like, okay, it's gonna be, things are smoothing right now. There's something that happens. There's something
mm,
that happens, right? I think you kind of warned us when we visited you a while back. You say, hey, it can get worse, right? It can get worse. Put your leg on the pedal. Don't slow down. Uh, so there was not a particular moment where I'm like, oh, things will never be the same. But I think it's been like that from the beginning, where
mm,
it's like one thing after the other. And for every one of those things, we also see the hand of God on
mm.
every one of those moments, right? So, in a way, that kind of give us that assurance, like, you know what, the devil has lost this battle. This way will be fine.
Wow. I mean, you guys are such a huge inspiration to us.
Yeah,
And I say that because here it is, you got this diagnosis, you're able to still self-reflect. I love the fact that you said you were thinking about your wife. But I do know the two of you to be focused and you're able to kind of get going right away. And you're like, okay, let's get supports, let's get services, let's get all the tools that are in place. What would you say to a new parent, somebody who just at the beginning stages? What would you tell
yeah.
them?
Um, well, so it's gonna be okay.
Mm,
Right. So I said earlier, so I'm very, very pragmatic, right? That could be good and that could be a bad thing. So let me slow down a little bit. Right. So it's gonna be okay. That's the first thing, right?
mm,
You're gonna be fine. Right. So but it's a journey, right? It's so first thing I say it's gonna be okay. Second thing is it's a journey. There's a lot to know, right? And the goal is not to know everything in day one. That's not gonna happen, right? Um, you're gonna be okay, and I'm gonna assume we are all believers. If you're not a believer, I mean, with the craziness going on in the world, I don't think you have much of a choice, really, right? So I'm going to assume you are a believer, and you have to lean heavily on that, right? You have to lean heavily on your faith. It's going to be okay. There's a lot to learn, right? Invest as much as you can in just learning every day about autism, right? Um, Learn about what causes it, what are the symptoms, so stuff like that. I know Dr. G has done a lot as far as presentations, as far as educating people on up to diet, supplementation, all of those things, right? So there's a lot to learn. You're not going to learn everything in day one, so don't
Mhm.
even try, right? Just one day at a time. Just commit yourself, right? But the main thing is you're going to be okay, right? And number three is number two, I say it's going to be okay. But number three is you don't have time to waste,
Mm.
right? You don't have time to waste. There's a lot that needs to be done, right? So starting from speech, OT, ABA therapy, um, nutrition, right? Supplementation, right? And just things even in the house that changes that you have to make, right? In terms of things that are probably toxic for them that you have to remove from the house, and just you educating yourself how you communicate with them, right? So you don't have time to waste. And lastly, I know Dr. G is passionate about this. You don't have time to be in denial, right? Like, no, you don't, right? Whatever you think is happening, it's happening, right? And it's not a death sentence, right?
Mhm.
But you have to come to reality quick, right? And say, okay, this does not feel good. I didn't sign up for this. I didn't expect this. Great. We'll get that feeling out of the way. Now let's get to work, right? These are like basic stuff. It's not rocket science, but you cannot afford to be in denial, right? Because you have such a very small windows when they're very young, where you can make a lot of great progress.
Wow, thank you so much for those nuggets. That's really, really
Yeah.
pivotal. I'm going to ask you one other question, and then Robert, I'll invite you to ask him your thoughts or even some of the things that you have gained. So, as a father, what
Yeah.
advice would you give other fathers or other men who are disconnected from their family after the diagnosis?
Yeah. So there are different things that could lead to the disconnect, right? Um, in a way, we're all going through it, right? If you live in America, you're going through it, period, right? With so much nonsense going on out there anyway, so in a way, we're all going through it, right? So now you bring such a heavy thing like this diagnosis, you introduce that to a family, which is probably a lot going on already, right? So it's only normal that your wife probably want to do things certain way, right? You are seeing a different side of her already, and she probably thinks she has the best way that she's gonna do it, right? So that is not that will happen, trust me,
Mm.
right? And there's also the disappointment part of you, right?
Mm.
Where you are very disappointed. I can relate with Brother Robert very well about what you expect, right? I was I was a very smart kid, right? I I graduated with 3.8 GPA or something like that, So I I sworn that my kid would be doing calculus at this age,
Mm.
right? So I have that expectation that hey, my boy will be doing this, my boy will be doing this, right? I like when we come to church, and I still struggle with that. I'll be very honest with you, right? So when we come to church and you see all those kids on the stage at church doing a lot of stuff, I'm like, damn, like, sorry for my language. Like, is my son ever going to do this? Is my daughter ever going to do this? Right? So this is still a very constant battle for me, right? So those things are all tension. We are human, right? As a man, right? And shout out to the woman, right? But for the most part, women have outlets, right? There are outlets for women. Women talk to women a lot. My wife, only God knows how many people she talks to, right? Sorry, she's next to me, by the way, right? So she, women for the most part have outlets. As men, we don't. Period. Right? We don't have any outlet where we go to people that we talk to. We don't. Right? So those are all bottled up emotions, right? It's gonna get out one way or the other, right? So those emotions sometimes they might get out to some people as alcoholism, addiction, just stay loneliness, right? You're just very lonely. You stay close to yourself because there's a lot happening, and we are feeling it as much as the women are feeling it, but we just don't have any outlet. We just bottle everything in. So, and I've pointed to my number one point: find an outlet, right? And I'm talking to the men who are listening to this and who will listen to this. Find an outlet, right? For me, my outlet is gym. I go to gym, right? So I go to gym. I work out 1 hour, 2 hours. I just kind of cool off, lift weights, just clear my mind. I go to gym, right? So uh, it could be business, right? Just pour those emotions, pour it into something, right? Find somewhere where you could just let it out. That would be the first thing. Number two would be lean on your faith. You know, I cannot overemphasize the importance of faith in this journey, right? Because you're gonna have good days, but you're gonna have a lot of bad days, right? You're gonna have days where it's just like, and I still do. I'll be very honest, right? I still do. I still have those days where I'm like, why me, right? Because everything would be so easier if I could just call Senna, come get your babies, can you just leave us alone, right? Or if I could just call Grace or just call somebody or Nathan, right? You know what? Just or Grandma, right? But I have to think about everything. We have to think about everything. Like, yeah, no, right? Yeah, we're not gonna do this to those people. You get what I'm saying? So uh, lean on your faith, right? Lean on your faith heavily. Pray. There's going to be a lot of bad days. There's going to be a lot of good days, right? But just pray, and you will be surprised. You will be surprised. You know, if you know me very well, I don't do any kind of overly spiritual stuff, right? But I cannot count how many times we've been down, right? And next thing you know, somebody's calling my wife. We will be down. It could be Dr. G. It could be Sheyi is notorious for doing that, right? It could be yeah, it could be anybody. Just randomly, just call my wife and say, God is saying this, right? Or she just randomly wake up to some text message or some Bible verse or some like these things happens notoriously in our household, by the way. So like lean on your faith and trust me, over time you're gonna like, you know what? Wow, God is actually real. He's hearing me, he's paying attention to my feeling. He knows I'm like very down at this moment. Right? So number one, find an outlet. Number two, lean heavily on your faith, right? And number three, last one, you know, it takes a family to do this, right? It takes a family to do this. Every time we have to deal with situations at school, every time, the moment they see me, right? They the calculation changes a little bit, right? The moment I'm next to my wife, everything just changes a little bit, and they know that, you know what, we cannot play games with these people, right? So that family structure makes all the difference. I don't have the scientific evidence, but I would bet it also helps the children as well when they see daddy and mommy together doing these things together. It helps the children as well. So that would be my advice for any man listening.
Wow, really, really, really powerful. I'm just like in awe of the wisdom that you just released right there. For some men that are listening and know that the feeling is real. That
Yep.
Robert said it. You've said the same thing, and you talked about the importance of community and faith and all that element. My last question to you, and then Robert, I'll have you jump in. You talked a little bit at the beginning about starting an ABA. I'll give you a permission to drop the name of the company. Why
Great.
did you do that? And what led you to that point?
Yeah. So because our children, both of them, they get therapy. So we have RBTs come in here to work with them, right? So we see how they're doing certain things. We see certain things where we think can be better, right? In terms of just not being too rigid in what they were doing, right? So we saw that, and I'm like, huh, okay, there are things we can do to make it better, right? But you know, shout out to our scientific people like Dr. G, right? Scientific people can also they can be very rigid, right? Like, this is what the data says, this is what and we're not deviating from that, right? So, but we thought as an autistic parent, right, there are certain things that we can do to help the parents as well, right? And I know my goal does that. My goal does a lot of like comprehensive, like a holistic teaching for parents, right? Where you talk about nutrition, where you talk about supplementation, where you talk about just things that leads to toxic stuff in the house, and I know for a fact many of the parents don't know some of this information, right? So we thought there was a little bit of space in there where we can add value, right? So not only can we provide therapy for the kids, we could also do some kind of education for the parent consistently and provide them with the resources, right? And like to be easy to say, okay, join this uh, join this non-profit, right? Join my goal, talk to this person. Then I talked about my wife's passion to help them, to help the parents, right? To help the parents navigate through the school system. So there's a holistic approach we are trying to bring to the ABA space, right? Somebody mentioned music therapy, right? I don't know what that is yet, but I know we're going to offer it. Right? So we thought there was a little space in there where we can help the parents. So that's why I said, babe, and lastly, there's a lot of money in healthcare. So I have to say that, right? There's a lot of money in healthcare as well. So right away I told my wife we have to do this, right? So that's what kind of lead us in that route to say, okay, we're going to start our ABA agency, and God willing, we're going to open multiple clinics down the road.
Wow, 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 wow. So powerful. I will comment on that in a minute. Robert, do you want to come in and
Yeah, I just want to first let my brother know that, God always leverages these situations for his glory, right? And so um, imagine when he took Abraham out and said, look in the sky. And this is a time that they were struggling to even have a child. And then, you're getting this prophecy that you're going to have children that will number the stars in the sky. Like, if his wife was actually laughing when the angels came and they were breaking bread, and they said, "What are you laughing at?" Right? So it's like it gets to the place where it's actually impossible. But that's where we actually need our faith, as you rightly stated. For me, one of the very big moments in my career outside the home was when I had to report to an individual on the spectrum. And it was very interesting because I applied for the position, took the position, and I was asked to say, "That's going to be your boss." And when I walked in there, when I came out, everybody was looking at me. They are smiling. They are like, "Oh, you're the new kid in the block. You got the guy who doesn't make eye contact. I don't know if you can trust him." But you know what you know what? I immediately saw Nick in that person. And I said, imagine that Nick even made it to where this guy made it. Why would I treat him any different? So I worked with that guy for 5 years, where I reported to him, and we'll go for lunch, we'll do everything, and my colleagues will come, they will put their hand on my forehead and they will say, "Are you okay?" You know, I mean, they could not believe, they were expecting that within a month or two, I will request for an exit. But you see, when I left that group, the guy actually said, "It's time for me to resign because I don't know if I can get the same experience that I got with you."
Oh, wow.
Fortunately for him, he had some real estate and other things, so he actually left the agency after I moved on. I share that because for me, that was one of the things that I was like, wow, imagine I never went through that experience where I could see my son. I just
Yeah.
said, this guy is such so blessed that he was able to. Can you imagine the college and everything that he went through? What
Yeah.
the bullying, the teasing, and then he made it to that place where he's actually in a manager position. And I just said, if Nick, my son, was in that situation, what would I do? And he and I delivered some very incredible, solved some very incredible problems for the agency that I worked for. So, but I wanted to say that thank you for sharing those, and also to let you know that, you know, if you were never impacted by this situation, you probably would have never been motivated to look at ABA or any other speech therapy.
No.
None
Yeah. No.
of that, right?
It was out of my thought
Correct.
process.
But
Yeah.
why would you even bother? And like we have a school in Ghana,
Yeah.
and was it a year or two ago? I went there, and these kids they were celebrating
Wow.
Christmas. They were having a Christmas play. There were
Yeah.
tears in my eyes because all the things that you touched on, that which was very powerful. Like here, we went to some meeting, what is the IEP meeting, and they said if Nicholas is 80% this, then he's ready to go to the next. Like he's some mechanical equipment, right? So being an engineer, I said, so what? You mean if he's five trials and he gets four correct, that means he's good. What if you do 20 and he only gets 60%? So again, these people play games with you,
Yeah.
right? So the fact that he got the first four correct because he was a good mood doesn't mean that you do 30 trials, you will get 80%.
Correct.
So when I started getting into those with them, they realized, just like you rightly said, that this guy, you're not going to get away with these kind of games with him. But
Correct.
at the school in Ghana, these kids are threading beads, right? And I was wondering, I said, is that maybe the ability to get to do something and get a value out of something, maybe is what is helping them. All these do two trials, this and that. I'm not saying it's not good, but I'm saying with this system kind of focuses on that, right? So if I had the best of both worlds, I will have him in Ghana doing those things as well, where they
Yeah.
actually doing this practical thing. These kids were sitting down very quietly for their
Wow.
turn to act in the play.
Wow.
And I was just so deeply touched. So I just wanted to share that, but also to say thank you and to say that, you know, if the vision that you have doesn't scare you, then you're probably just doing this by yourself, right? Because
That's
Moses,
not big enough.
because Moses, when he was in Pharaoh's castle and everything, he killed an Egyptian soldier. But the day
Yeah.
God told him to go and represent the people, he said he doesn't know how to speak. There has to be a place where that journey actually humbles you, and I'm very happy that I'm completely in the place. If you knew me before, Nick, and you know me now, I'm in a different place in terms of how I look at things. So, I know that everything will work out. Um,
Right.
the
Yeah.
end, the end of all this, we don't know. But what I know is that one day I was really struggling, just like you see the kids, everybody's kid on the stage. And I'm like, when Nick, he's taking the small bus, he may never make it anyway. And one of the things I want to leave with the fathers is learn to connect with God, learn to have a conversation with God. So his bus came, and it was a small short bus, and the longer bus came. Those are the kids that are in the mainstream, and then the
Yeah.
bus leaves. And I was like, man, when is he ever going to get to the place where he will go to high school, college? And I was walking back after I put him on the short bus. And right there, the voice said to me, he said, "What degree does Steve Jobs have? What
Mm.
degree does all these other guys that we know as renowned innovators, what degree do they have?" In fact, they were dropouts. Some of them ended up and started things that this
Yeah.
computer and
Bill
Zoom that
Gates.
we're talking about.
Yep.
They were doing it in their father's garage. What was most important was that the fathers were there, said,
Yeah.
"You don't want to go to school? It's okay. You come home. Take the garage. I'll clean the garage for you." If they didn't do that, we probably wouldn't be on this PC today. So our kids they have their own talent, and there are ways that we can continue to encourage them,
Yeah.
uh, and hopefully we discover what they are passionate about,
Yeah.
so that they can also transform the world like the Bill Gates and Steve
Yeah.
Jobs, right? So I will leave it there and let Dr. G take the floor a little bit.
Yeah. I think, Doctor, if I could just make
Yes.
reference to what you said about the Apple guy, then you have Bill Gates, then you have Elon Musk, right? Then you see all these people, right? Then you see that they have a special talent that's not based on formal education, right?
Mhm.
And you really see a lot of things that our kids struggle with is based around the Western education structural
Yeah.
system, right? I read somewhere in place like Japan now, they just let the kids play
Mhm.
before they get to age 4 or 5. They don't put them in a classroom, right?
Mhm.
Because there's a lot more to the world than our formal education or test system. And the challenge is to help them find out that talent, what they have, and they can contribute to the society. And I'm very happy you said that. So
Yeah, no, these are so powerful nuggets you guys have dropped, and I'm just like, wow, this conversation could go on and on and on. Um, so this series idea just dropped into my heart last month. And as you guys are both starting to talk, I hear that I'm sensing that the wisdom to hear from the men and your viewpoint are necessary. And as even women are listening in, because we process information a lot differently than you guys do. And unfortunately, because we speak more and say more, we tend to start to make it look like our view are the only way to go. So for the ladies listening tonight, please let's just be mindful that, as the men both have said, the way they process information is a lot different. A lot of internalization. Shola, you talked about outlet is going to the gym and working it out, but I'm sure there's value to be said about what you're even sharing here tonight. Robert said that last time afterwards he felt lighter, and because this is being transparent and being vulnerable. But I believe that there's some men that are listening to you guys tonight that will see the value in the journey. It's hard. You said it. I go through it. People just don't think that we do, but we go through it because there's a lot of things that we do for the community that we don't always get. Nick doesn't get to always enjoy, and sometimes people are looking at us like, "How come you're not?" I'm like, ultimately, it's about what that person will also like to do. It's not what I want to force them to do, but what does that person want to do? And so, for people listening in tonight, we really want to highlight the importance of really being open-minded. Being open-minded. I'm also gleaning from what Robert said is that our children, the book is not finished about them.
No.
Yeah.
It's not.
I also want to say that in my own history, and that helped me a little bit, right? When I was in the primary stages, elementary stages, I used to be at the bottom of the class. And it was reason. It's not because I was dumb. It's not because I was stupid. It was just because I didn't see value in 2 times 2 is 4, 2 times 3 is 6. Like, why should I study that? So it was interesting that I had to go to the boarding house.
Yeah.
Where I learned to teach myself. This is the reason why I'm passionate about kids and the way they learn and the way that parents. My father was so frustrated. He bought 100-acre farmland because in his mind, I wasn't going to make it. God had a sense of humor.
Wow.
I made it, and I also got into farming, but that's a different story, right? So, but as a parent, I could see where his frustration was. He was the dean of engineering. He wanted his son, and all I wanted to do was to play soccer in the field, run around, because I had a lot of energy to burn, right? But when I learned how I should be learning things like, if you're talking about projectiles in physics, I have to say, okay, that's the Sergeant Major trying to shoot a cannon. Then I can understand why I need to study that, right? And that is what took me across the line. So when it came to my kids, it was interesting that I just taught them to teach themselves. I don't remember a time that I sat at the table to say we are doing homework. Why did that become very valuable? When they got to college, they knew how to survive. So everybody must understand that every child learns differently. You see, and I think that's part of the thing. That's why the diagnosis, in a way, they're like, oh, he's not doing this, not doing that, don't it? Therefore, I was like, let's slow down.
Yeah.
Is there a way that we can get him to learn? Maybe he plays by stacking Lego. Why don't we start from there? Right? But it's a different way. Anytime you want to do things that are outside the box, you're going to face challenges.
That's
So
true.
you are very correct with the ABA therapy. And I really like what you're doing to say, is there a way we can do it different?
Yeah, so good, so good, so good. Wow. Okay. So we've spent a lot of time already talking about so much elements of this. What is your last takeaways before we round up? Robert will be doing a part 3, not to worry. So your conversation, your conversation is ongoing because this is bringing us, yes, Anaranka, that is a part 3. So
So I'll just give a few takeaways. I mean, just taking every point also from Shola, I'll give 10 points. Okay. For any father that is on this call, especially if you're just getting the diagnosis or you are seeing those tendencies and you're like, this cannot be my son. I said, don't worry about it. The first and foremost is that today's session is entitled, I Didn't See This Coming. It's a father's call to special needs parenting. So once you are a father, just as God had to be very patient with Adam and Eve in the beginning, when you are a father, there is a need to be patient. even with neurotypical kids.
Yeah.
You just need to understand that the journey is a marathon, it's not a sprint. So you need to give yourself permission to learn. Make mistakes, it's okay. You recalibrate, right?
Yeah.
And grow alongside your child instead of expecting instant answers like those microwave. Everything is so quick fix, microwave. So that's the point. Be patient. Be patient with the process. The second, choose tolerance, grace, and understanding. Be tolerant, not just of your child's differences, but for your spouse, as you rightly shared. Know that women and men deal with this with their children. How about the children? They also feel ignored. They're like, you're only focusing on this special needs child if you have one and the others are not, right? So it's important that you are patient with them, not snapping at them, because then you are now creating another issue downstream. So to be a father, most importantly, you are being called to be the leader that brings everything together. If the wife is not ready to do the laundry, it's your job because you are the boss. You are the CEO. It's your job to pick up those and go and do it. That's the load, right? You want to lead the team, the family, everywhere. Don't carry this alone as a father. You want to collaborate with your spouse. There is a lot that I learned from Dr. G. She's a pharmacist. Then I became the herbalist, right? Of course, your siblings are there. Some of them may not understand this. The grandparents, they may not understand it. But with time,
Yeah.
you have to keep engaging them until they understand this whole situation. The community. I know in the church when we had the opportunity to get Agape House going, we made sure that there was a special needs room. At the
Yeah.
time, that was not a thing that many churches had. It was like groundbreaking because as a parent, I wanted to make sure that I advocated for people like us. You want to protect the marriage. You want to make sure that you have family time. Don't just get engrossed in everything that's going on. You're rushing, swimming, you're rushing, ABA, make time. Make intentional time for your spouse and children. Date nights. Find a way. Life still happens. And if you think you have it bad, wait until you hear some people's stories. The daily, simple daily rituals. Try and if somebody is giving shower, somebody else is, because it's a heavy load to carry, right? Number five, don't let the situation swallow your identity. This diagnosis is real, but it's not the whole story of your family. So if you are not in the right mental state, you cannot lead the family, you cannot guard. So you need to guard your mental, emotional, and spiritual health through prayer, counseling, exercise, and rest. I binge watch movies sometimes. I don't do so I mean, I just fall asleep maybe because of old age, but just make sure that you don't get burned out. And I think Shola shared a lot of those things, right? Recalibrate the roadmap. Like I said, for me, the vision was to make sure Nick and I are playing soccer in the field right in front of the house and then getting him ready. But it's a different thing. So we interact with each other differently. We go for walks around, and as I'm walking, he takes time, he gives me a kiss, and my heart just melts. And I'm like, it could be different, but I would have never experienced that attention from him at that age. So it's a different experience. So you need to recalibrate and realize that, it's not what you are expecting, but it's not the end of the road. Then also don't bury yourself in work. Let the journey shape you as you have done, Shola. You know, you are not allowing this whole thing like the PT which you touched on. You're now doing things and not just no, is it Nordisk or your work, or for me it's the Port Authority. I don't let Once I leave the office, I carry the laptop, but I make sure that I don't bring it home, and that when I get home, it's about the family and my son, my lovely son Nicholas. So use your story to educate and invite the community in. Again, that's the stuff that you are doing here, right? Your experiences, you're like, I don't want another parent to go through this. Dr. G, you're doing that in an amazing way and giving us this platform to do this. It's so important, right? That we don't autism is not going to win. We will. And we will make sure that the transformations happen. So we're going to use our story to educate and invite the community. We have a STEM program in Ghana that engages the siblings, because the siblings is easy for them to get left out, because we are trying to heal. We're trying to take care of our child. We're trying to correct our child. We forget about the others. So by creating those programs, bringing them in and bringing other disadvantaged students, for me, that's one of my joys, and that's a different conversation another day. Embrace the faith community as a place of belonging. We couldn't have done this. I think our faith community, our church community has been huge. And that's where we met Shola and Nodeti as well. Um, we lean on one another. Um, Grace, Shei, all these folks, sometimes when the weight is just so heavy, they are the ones that call you and pray for you. Or they just visit. And we sit down, we break bread, because not everybody can understand the situation that they can come to my house and my Nicholas is bouncing on the wall. They think there is something very weird, right? But then you have people that actually understand. Finally, that's number 10. I would say, remember that you are called. You are not cursed. I've heard people ask me to say, oh, but this is not in our family. The Kuma play is this. It's not in Genevieve's family either. Right? So I didn't see this coming. Can become God met us here. And this is not a punishment, but a calling to love more deeply, serve more sacrificially, and reflect Christ's heart to a watching world. They are watching us, that we are not walking on this journey alone. So we now become the examples that people will look for resilience. And everybody has something or the other that they are dealing with. And you'll be surprised how people tell me at work that, I can't believe that you are dealing with this. Work. I said, work is actually the easiest side of my day. And that is true. I mean, work, I just breeze through it. So it's made me very resilient. So I would say that I'm not going to say that I'm excited for this to happen. No, no, no. But I'm not using that and leaning on that as a pain point and struggling. But I'm using that to be a different leader, an empathetic leader, a worker that can be of support. I met another lady, and she's also working in the same, and I called her and I said, how do you feel about how your reaction, your review? Because I wanted to, and I gave her some points. I said, people, if you don't fit in the regular mold, they are just going to be, tossing you around. So you need to be more proactive. You need to be more, challenge them to think outside the box. And that was just last year, and I'm planning to have that same conversation with her. She's been in the agency for over 10 years. So that to me is like, it's like a gift of God for me to even see that individual that way. So I will stop there, honey. It's right on the dot. Yeah, I could be talking forever. You will.
You're getting a lot of love, right? Because they're like, whoa, he should be hosting this thing now. I've kept it to myself, but today he got to release it all in that way. This has been a powerful conversation. Shola, I thank you so much for being very transparent, for being very honest. You validated what Robert said. in the same way. He shared some nuggets in there. I think those 10 points, we need to collect them and post them somewhere because there was so much. It was like loaded. I'm like, what the heck? Did he just like came in with a bullet? Just downloaded all that wisdom there, right? So like I said, we'll be back to doing part 3 because I think people need to hear this. People need to be inspired by it. People need to know this is real conversation. I know and I hope that people really see the value in what we're sharing here tonight, because your experiences is invaluable. Ladies, I know we talk all the time. We needed the guys to be on the sharing component, and we'll be coming back in here. As we're rounding off the conversation, it's way past the time. I know I promised you only 30 minutes. Hopefully it's been worth your time. Thank you, Robert, for always being on point and sharing. The text that I wanted to share, it's Psalm 139, and I'm reading the TPT version. It talked about being a believer, and it says, "You formed my innermost being, shaping my delicate inside and my intricate outside, wove them all together in my mother's womb. I thank you, God, for making me so mysteriously complex. Everything you do is marvelously breathtaking. It simply amazes me to think about it, how thoroughly you know me. You even formed every bone in my body when you created me in the secret place. Carefully, skillfully, you shaped me from nothing to something. You saw who you created me to be before I became. Before I ever would see the light of day, the number of days you planned for me were already recorded in your book." That's Psalm 139. That's the Passion Translation version of it. And it just basically said, highlighted what Robert said, highlighted what Shola said, highlighted what we've been talking about. And like we said earlier, my goal is this: to support families facing autism and other intellectual disabilities throughout their lifespan. And we believe that each one of our children are for signs and wonders. Right now, they may not be learning the math. I've never heard anybody say the multiplication times table like that. I used to make my kids learn it. Push them to like 5 times 6 is what? 30. Memorize it. And he's like, wait, yeah. So that's like, we remember. Not knowing that was just trauma. Oh, God, forgive us. Right? So we want to just say thank you. We have coming up December 14th, our holiday party. Nife, if you want to just quickly show it and I'll speak to it. So it's going to be in Piscataway, Sunday, December 14, 2025. We're going to have a holiday party for our kids. We're going to have DJ Nick. This young man is amazing. He's one of our own, and he is on point. So he's going to be there. We're going to have, it's going to be a fun-filled event. It's free. We do this to support families. So if you're in the Piscataway area, please, 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 you can find more information on our website. Go check it out. You can also scan the QR code as we're showing you here. Once again, I want to say thank you for all the donors and supporters who came to our gala event. Amazing time. Amazing, amazing, amazing time. We are looking forward to next year's event. But we want to say thank you so much for joining us. So December 14th is our holiday party. And then our next empowerment moment will be on a Friday, the 26th, because the 25th is a Thursday, and we'll be celebrating Christmas. So we'll do it the next day. So what we'll probably do is update this picture and throw my husband's picture on there too. And all the other folks that will come there. Maybe you'll probably get more loving people showing up because they're like, okay, we remove her face and add him in.
No.
Yeah. We're gonna do it.
I want to acknowledge, I have one of my colleagues here, Bill Thompson. And Bill, thank you for joining. I know this is not a side I share in my professional environment, but thank you really for joining, and I really appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you, Bill, for joining. Shola, thank you again for all the love that we felt tonight. It was really good. Nodedi, thank you for releasing him to just be real with all of us. So once again, thank you, everyone. See you next month for another part 3 of this series. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Bye.